Welcome to the October 2022 issue of Canola Quick Bytes, brought to you by the U.S. Canola Association. Capitol Hill. The final rule on canola renewable diesel and related biofuel pathways for renewable fuel standard eligibility has been sent by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Office of Management and Budget for clearance. If cleared by the OMB, the final rule will be published in the Federal Register and allow renewable diesel, jet fuel, naphtha, liquefied petroleum gas, and heating oil produced from canola oil to generate credits under the RFS. The U.S. Canola Association and industry partners will meet with the OMB on September 30th to reiterate its support and urge prompt approval of the final rule. On September 12th, President Joe Biden signed an executive order on advancing biotechnology and biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy. The order seeks to bolster and coordinate federal investment in key research and development areas of biotechnology and biomanufacturing in order to further societal goals. It calls on the U.S. Department of Agriculture to submit a report on how to use biotechnology and biomanufacturing for food and agriculture innovation, including by improving sustainability and land conversion, increasing food quality and nutrition, increasing and protecting agricultural yields, protecting against plant and animal pests and diseases, and cultivating alternative food sources. The state of Washington is poised to implement a clean fuel standard following a public comment period that ended August 31st. The new standard, which will take effect on January 1st, 2023, aims to incentivize fuel suppliers to reduce the carbon intensity of transportation fuels by 20% by 2038. It calls for a 15% net increase in liquid biofuel production in the state and offers suppliers multiple ways to comply with required greenhouse gas emission reductions, such as improving production processes and blending with low-carbon fuels. Major biofuel stakeholders submitted a range of suggestions to improve the proposed legislation. Bio is urging the use of updated science on indirect land use changes for canola and other plant-based biofuels, as well as input from canola and other crop producers in the development of clean fuel legislation in order to consider agricultural carbon reduction practices such as no-tillage in calculating carbon intensity scores. The EPA announced on September 28th that it will not regulate the use of pesticide-treated seeds under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act in response to a petition filed by the Center for Food Safety with and on behalf of beekeeper, farmer, and public interest groups in April 2017. That's because the agency already fully assesses, as part of its review of a pesticide registered for treating seed, both the use of the pesticide and treated seed and their impacts to human health and the environment. This is based on two regulatory conditions. One, the treating pesticide is a FIFRA Section 3 product registered for use as a seed treatment for the specific crop. And two, the treating pesticide and treated seed are distributed, sold, and used consistent with registered product labeling. However, the EPA is looking into whether these seeds are being labeled, distributed, sold, and used appropriately. It intends to issue an advance notice of proposed rulemaking on this issue. Agronomy. How can you prevent seed toxicity in canola? Ken Wall, a grow team advisor with Federated Cooperatives Limited, says canola seed tends to be more sensitive to nitrogen toxicity than other crops, so growers need to take extra precaution when determining application rate. Dryness, salinity, and the type of fertilizer applied impact the crop's toxicity as well. If you plan to straight cut canola this year, start small and early to allow time for natural drying and make sure that straight cutting fits into your current system, advised Country Guide staff. In addition, work with shatter-resistant varieties and note that harvest timing still plays a large role in crop quality. More tips are in Pammy's guidebook for straight cutting canola. Did you know the essential micronutrient boron is needed to grow high-yielding canola? Erica Dowling, Technical Sales Manager at Mosaic Company, says soil sampling is going to be a key part of the micronutrient story, as that's where deficiencies will show up, and it's important to have boron as it has synergies with other nutrients. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack announced on September 27th that the Biden administration is making $500 million in grants available to increase the production of U.S. food fertilizer, nutrient alternatives, and other nutrient management products and technologies to spur competition and combat price hikes on U.S. farmers caused by the war in Ukraine. Recent supply chain disruptions have shown just how critical it is to invest in the agricultural supply chain here at home, he said. The Fertilizer Production Expansion Program is one example of many Biden-Harris administration initiatives to bring production and jobs back to the United States, promote competition, and support American goods and services. Awards will range from $1 to $100 million for a period of 5 years. The USDA will soon accept applications at grants.gov with 2 opportunities for submission. Priority will be given to projects that increase the availability of fertilizer, nutrient, phosphate, or potash, and nutrient alternatives for agricultural producers to use in crop years 2023 or 2024. Potential applicants should tune into a webinar on either October 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern or October 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern to learn. Pre-registration is required. Nutrition. The White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health on September 28th addressed the Biden administration's goal of ending hunger and increasing healthy eating and physical activity by 2023 in America. The consequences of food insecurity and diet-related diseases are significant, far-reaching, and disproportionately impact historically underserved communities, the White House stated in a summary of its national strategy in hunger and nutrition and health. Yet, food insecurity and diet-related diseases are largely preventable if we prioritize the health of the nation. The strategy includes 5 pillars. 1. Improving food access and affordability. 2. Integrating nutrition and health. 3. Empowering all consumers to make and have access to healthy choices. 4. Supporting physical activity for all. And 5. Enhancing nutrition and food security research. Private companies have committed $8 billion in funding to help the White House reach these goals. However, the conference was deemed partisan by critics and surprisingly underrepresented by agricultural groups, in spite of the USDA and other entities pointing this out in a letter to President Biden on September 8th. Did you know that canola oil is a good source of vitamin E? One serving provides adults 16% of their recommended daily intake of vitamin E, a nutrient that can fall short in the American diet. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that may help protect the heart. Learn more about canola oil nutrition from the USDA. Other country news. The World Trade Organization has suspended a dispute settlement panel tasked to settle a battle over canola seed between Canada and China. Following the arrest of a Hawaii executive on Canadian soil in 2019, a trade war ensued and China banned the importation of Canadian canola seed. In 2022, China resumed imports. With tensions lower, Canada requested the suspension of WTO intervention, which ended August 30th. Global canola/rapeseed production in 2022-23 is forecast to reach a record high, with Australia and Russia expected to see larger harvests, according to the September 2022 Oilseeds World Markets and Trade Report by the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service. It predicts worldwide canola and rapeseed production to reach a new record level of 83.1 million metric tons. The Canadian canola harvest is smaller than the industry and government expected this year at 19.1 million tons, reported Reuters. This is lower than the August estimate of 19.5 million. Experts blame dry weather conditions. Australian canola exports are on track to exceed targets for the 2021-22 crop year at 5.2 million tons, notes Argus. This is up sharply from 3.37 million tons at the same time the previous year. Australia gained from EU demand due to a poor canola quality rapeseed harvest in Europe and decreased oilseed supply from Ukraine. Australia is expected to compete with Canada in key markets for the foreseeable future. Australian farmers warn tourists against taking canola selfies in their field due to a biosecurity risk, reported The Guardian in the UK. According to a New South Wales Government Biosecurity Act, farmers must have a biosecurity management plan in place and keep a registry of visitors. There's a real fear about foot and mouth disease and what quarantined people have been through and where they've come from, noted an Australian canola farmer. Latest industry news. U.S. Canola Association member Archer Daniels Midland will receive up to $90 million in U.S. Department of Agriculture funding to incentivize thousands of producers, including canola growers, across 15 states to adopt and implement climate-smart agricultural practices and markets. The USDA is also funding Truterra's Climate Smart, or Scaling Mechanisms for Agriculture's Regenerative Transformation, project at the same level, and USDA member Winfield United is a major partner. This project aims to scale up smart commodity production and access across 28 states. ADM and PepsiCo announced an agreement to reduce carbon intensity on 2 million acres of farmland, starting with corn, soy, and wheat farmers with the aim to expand. The companies will provide participants with technical and financial assistance with the hope of eliminating 1.4 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. Canola crush margins soared to $325 per ton with a gross margin of $7.37 per bushel, noted the Western producer. This is likely due to the forecast of another bumper Australian canola crop. In order for crush margins to return to normal levels, soybean oil prices must fall or canola prices rise. In the Red River Farm Network's Canola Minute, sponsored by the Northern Canola Growers Association, Executive Director Barry Coleman reported impressive canola statistics from the USDA. U.S. canola imports and crushing have significantly increased to 1.49 billion and 5.43 billion pounds, respectively. The use of canola oil in biofuel production and food increased by about 50 million pounds each, for a total of 1.3 billion pounds going to biofuel and 4.88 billion pounds to food. It's a good year for sustainable tires. Goodyear just presented a demonstration truck tire produced with 63% sustainable materials, including rapeseed oil, at an industry conference, according to Tire Technology International. Goodyear is committed to the development of products and solutions that help support the ambitions and aspirations of our business partners to be more competitive, more efficient, and more sustainable, said Gregory Bouchalerat, Vice President, Commercial Europe. A federal grand jury indicted 2 California men for stealing canola worth $4.8 million from international food processors. They used their now-defunct train-to-truck transloading company to, quote, deliver canola to the processor's customers, but sold it instead to an acquaintance in Texas for livestock feed. The 2 men face up to 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. The Pacific Northwest Canola Association announced that its variety trial at Cup Farms near Pullman, Washington, resulted in 2,415 to 2,852 pounds per acre, and most of the 10 entries were not significantly different from each other. The Washington Oilseed Commission funds research projects every year from the assessments on canola produced in Washington state, as does the Idaho Oilseed Commission in its state. The Pacific Northwest Canola Association encourages canola growers to provide input about what would help them or their region farm. For the first time, the Montana Grain Growers Annual Convention and Trade Show will be jointly hosted by the Pacific Northwest Canola Association and Northern Pulse Growers Association, November 29th to December 1st. Its theme will be Brighter Days, Farmers Helping Farmers, and it will include an exhibition. The Pacific Northwest Canola Association is co-hosting a meet and greet with Sean Haney, founder of Real Agriculture and host of Real Ag Radio, on November 28th at 5:30 p.m. to kick off the convention. Check out his recording on the making of hybrid canola from start to soil. On September 30th, Dr. Jim Davis of the University of Idaho Brassica Breeding and Research Program retired after 30 years with the program. Jim is a nationally known authority in canola agronomics and has been heavily involved in determining best management practices for growing canola in the Pacific Northwest region, said Dr. Jack Brown, who, as former director of the program, hired Davis in 1992. In addition, Jim has been responsible for the Pacific Northwest winter and spring canola variety trials, combining entries from multiple seed and breeding organizations and grown throughout Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and Montana. Karen Sowers, Pacific Northwest Canola Association Executive Director, added, Jim has been an invaluable asset to canola growers, industry, and university colleagues in the Pacific Northwest and throughout the United States. About the USDA. The U.S. Canola Association will hold its autumn board meeting in Scottsdale, Arizona, November 9th through the 11th. Get social with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Want to promote your products or services to canola producers and industry members? Visit our advertising pages to find specs, deadlines, and rates to advertise in this monthly e-newsletter or on uscanola.com.